any interactions with HR? What kind of support you guys have got from your HR guys? None? None. Have you even had conversations with them? Yes? And they said it was off?
I asked them to be agile, to make their process agile.
Good word for buzz off actually.
Well, yeah, that's a polite way of saying it. Let me get into the topic, because that's been the area of work that I have been trying to focus for the last about a year to a couple of years now, is to figure out how to get some more Josh in my team. Just forget about lean agile, but just to create the excitement to say, let's do something else. Let's do something different. It works, doesn't work, who cares? Anyway, we have enough problems on a day-to-day basis. How to make it a little more exciting? So I'll talk about some of the things that we have been doing in that area, and then hopefully you'll see some resonance with your day-to-day execution. I don't know if you guys can see. I think this is too low down the height. Can you guys see from the back there? You can see the bottom of it? Yes. You can? Okay. Surprises me. So, cursory 4 slides, 2 marketing, 2 core principles based. A little bit about Digitech. We are pioneers in the lean agile software development. If you are from Infosys, Cognizant, Wipro, HCL Tech, L&T Infotech, Virtusa, you are in all probability using your Digitech software. Anybody from Fiserv? Here, Fiserv guys use our tool, the Swift, the Swift ALM, Swift Enterprise tool. Anybody from BirlaSoft, KPIT after the acquisition? No? Okay. Okay, HCL guys, PM Smart. I know people hate PM Smart, that's a different matter, don't blame me for that. Okay. What I do, I've been in the industry now for 3 decades. We have been into the agile journey for almost over a decade now. I really feel very embarrassed for the way that I used to think about IT and software development when we got into the industry. It is really the way we used to think about developers versus testers, the way we project managers, the kind of language that we used to use about bodies and how body shopping has to be done, and how margins were driven. I used to run the insurance vertical for HCL America, so in the 90s, on-site revenues used to be extremely body shopping driven. And it kind of really is extremely embarrassing now to be even calling our fellow colleagues as bodies. But that's what it was, that's what we all did, and guilty as charged. I do chair the Kanban India conference. We have just launched it. It's in the August 1st weekend. If you guys are practitioners of Lean or Kanban in your project teams, it would be great to have your submissions in there. It is a little Kanban centric, so please don't get offended if some of your submissions are not accepted, but it is a Lean Kanban focused things, along with DevOps. It's not for SAFe as an example. Okay, so these are the core 2 things that I really believe in, that most of my presentations these days start with. First, it's not about just being agility, but it's being able to respond to change across all levels. The problem that I see is most of us talk about respond to change in terms of business change. How does the organization adopt to business? But change is happening across all levels. From generation to generation of people who are joining us, they are very different. They're a different breed of people. Their habits are different. The way they interact, their expectations from their parents. I have a 21-year-old. Anybody in that teenager bracket? Not yet, okay, few. Okay, so their expectations are different, right? We are definitely just do not have an immediate connection. My wife does a better job than I do, but clearly there is change happening across all the levels and all the stakeholders of the organization. And it's important to be able to recognize that and say, I can't use my stereotype method on them because it's a different way of working. Okay? So first is about change, and the second is really who I think was one of the best thinkers and one of the most influential thinkers that we had, which is Deming. And the point being about that the principles that, even from this session, try and understand the principles don't try to copy the practice. Because if you try to copy the practice, it is highly probable that it will not work in your environment. What you've got to try and understand is the principle behind what we did and how we did it, and see how can we adapt it in your own environment. That would make it far more interesting, that would make it far more contextual. So the problem statement, boy, this is a small font. Bottom line, employees are working longer, taking fewer vacations. Employees have a significantly more cognitive load on a daily basis, thanks to mobile and social interactions. Productivity has slowed down. I'm sure all your management bosses will agree, yeah, it's terrible. And India perhaps is a shade worse, because we really do not have the culture and the habit of knowing how to say no. Okay? It is taken extremely negative across the hierarchy when people say no. Okay, one of the things that many of our laterals who joined AgilityToday get shocked at, and they tell us is, I'm amazed at how much they shout at each other, and very shout at pretty high volume, high pitch, and we keep on saying, hey, if you are going to be passionate about something in your point of view, you have to express that in a strong manner. You can't just be silent and just accept it because somebody senior said, buzz off, right? So make your point felt, make your point forcefully heard, and then after that, if it's not accepted, it's not accepted. At least you give it a shot. So our problem has been, in AgilityToday specifically, is that across the leadership level, there's a fair amount of understanding about Lean Agile, what it's trying to do. People, and including my own CEO, they understand what we're trying to do, what's it for. The problem that we are facing is that at my younger generation of people, fellow colleagues, they seem to have a very dispassionate approach to it. So it's almost like a mirror, right? They won't say no, they won't say yes. They will hear it. It's a very passive acceptance. एक कान से सुना, दूसरे कान से निकाल दिया, right? And so you would make a pitch and you would expect that something would happen, and you would walk in a month later and say, nothing has changed on the ground. And you say, what the hell happened? Why, we thought we were going to do this. No, something happened, kuch ho raha tha, for this reason it didn't happen, that reason it didn't happen. So you're going to get a whole bunch of reasons why something was not done the way you were expecting it to get done, or that transformation to take scene. So we're trying to understand that how do we make our people a little better aligned, a little better, more excited about what we were trying to do. Okay, how to really get some deep agile thinking and thought into our day-to-day execution level. We, by the way, are a product company, so it's a hardcore engineering product company. We respect technical talent, and obviously our day-to-day job is to figure out how we can bring in more and more technology into our products and make our life easier. So we are not as IT services. So these are, I think, two very seminal work. One was by Vineet Nayyar Jr. People from HCL would have heard about Vineet Nayyar Jr., highly respected individual. He wrote first Employees First, and his was the first book. Richard Branson made his quote later. But the sum and substance of the book was that if you take care of your employees, they will take care of your customers. So the pitch was that employees come first, think about your employees, the rest of the things will follow. And that was extremely seminal, because till that point of time, it was always fashionable to talk across management leadership to say customer first, right? Do whatever you need to do for the customer, bend backwards, up and down, whatever, make a customer happy, correct? And Vineet took the approach to say, it's an extremely good read, by the way. If you have not read it, I would highly recommend it. To say, take care of your employees. And obviously, take care of your employees doesn't mean that you have to always just listen blindly to what every employee is saying. But you have to hear them, you have to understand them, you have to accept their point of view. If you do not align, you have to explain to them why not. That's a part of closing the loop, right? But it's easier said than done, right? Gyan dena is very easy. Grassroots execution 10 times, 100 times more difficult. So let's talk about grassroots execution, and hopefully I'll leave you with some ways of how you can do it. Once again, understand the principle behind what we were trying to do, and we'll take it from there. So the first thing is, why do you think people are with you? Right? So when we are getting this passive acceptance, we are thinking the saying, yeah, I'm trying all kinds of methods, I'm trying all kinds of visuals. I have obviously been in consulting for a fair period of time. I was trying all the tools and tricks that I was aware of, but it was not making an impact. So we said, okay, let's figure out what are they wanting to learn from? Why are they with us? And we adopted something called as a fit for purpose approach. Anybody who's read this body of knowledge, Fit for Purpose? So this was a book written by a guy called David Anderson, who's the father of the Kanban method, and his colleague, a guy called Alex Zay. And they wrote, it's very light reading, very simple light reading. You might not have a great aha moment for the book, okay, itself, but it's very revealing. Once again, it's one of those things which looks very superficial on the surface, but creates a profound impact when you use it on a day-to-day basis. So, let's take two examples. A mother wants to buy pizzas for their kids after a school picnic in the evening, and the same mother wanting to buy pizza for her office colleagues after a late evening at work. Two completely different requirements, right? The kids, all they care about is a cheese pizza, right? And they want to make sure it comes when it's hungry, right? The Maggie 2-minute formula works, right? If 2 minutes becomes 20 minutes, there's going to be pandemonium at house, correct? So you want your 2-minute cheese pizza fast. It doesn't matter, it's hot, cold, kuch bhi chalega, right? Feed them fast, get them quiet. This crowd is obviously a little more selective. They want high quality, they want it hot. It doesn't matter whether 2 minutes becomes 20 minutes, they're willing to wait. Anyway, the conversation is late in the evening, right? So the same pizza has two different market segments, two different audiences. And every organization has to figure out for themselves what my market segment is. What's my market segment? What are the expectations of that market segment from me? And how can I measure that? What are the metrics to be able to measure it? So you can't just take a generic approach and say, all my customers are the same. That's what Fit for Purpose is trying to do. Okay? So what they talk about is that for every business model to be successful, there are three critical elements. The first one is the recipe, which is nothing but the design, the ingredients. How are you going to make this pizza? If you are making a product, how am I going to make this product? What is my design of it? It's got to be architecturally, foundationally strong. In the process of making itself, in our business, that would be the whole software development itself. Correct? If it's done right, high quality, it will be responsive, it will be on time, it will have a great UX experience, blah, blah, blah. Last but not the least, you need the service guy to deliver that pizza, right? If this guy delivers it to a different address or took a bite when he was delivering, you have a problem on hand, right? So your service delivery also needs, so all these three things, design, implementation, service, are equally important for you to finally give a great overall experience to that market segment, only to that market segment, correct? So, if I adapt that thinking to now our people, what I need to do is I need to understand all the different reasons why people are working for me. Why are they with Digitake? In Bombay, there is JPMC, all the nice fancy MNCs are there with their cafeterias, nice transportation services. Why are some people with us? Interestingly, many people are with us, and our experiences, people who cross the 5 to 6 years bracket with us, continue for endlessly. Okay, myself as an example. So, what drives that pattern? What drives that behavior? understand the expectations of that market segment. For us, it means is that once you have understood the people, what are they looking for? If somebody is looking for reason X, how am I ranking up to that X? Right? So once you know that, then you try and trace it with metrics. So you look at what kind of data patterns that I'm able to find out. Am I doing well? Am I not doing well? How can I align myself better to that specific market segment? So as an example, I'm sure you can't read this. So if I look at my own Digitate itself, we have web sales, we have online sales, we have inside sales, we have field sales, we have local sales, we have a contract value, and we have the rate at which deals are happening on a per unit time basis. Each of this, obviously, as you can imagine, web sales, which is premium sales for my Swift Kanban product, is a very different market, is a very different audience segment, right? These guys are looking for a much more lighter Kanbanish experience than the guys who are actually where there's a lot of field interaction. This is, as you can imagine, almost like a B2C sale experience. This is a B2B sales experience. So different market segments, different channels of marketing, different capabilities of the product that those market segments are required, different ways of servicing, right? These guys paying much more would expect a single-handed point of contact, assuring them of a high level of SLA and service. These guys who are hardly paying me anything, it doesn't really matter to him. Correct? This guy, sales would happen in a week's time. This guy would almost run into a 6 to 9 month sales cycle. So for every market segment, you need to be able to identify their purpose, why they are choosing you, and how you are going to be able to deliver to that. Okay? So understand the positioning for each of our customer segments, bring in frontline staff. That's one point they make extremely important in the book, is that your support organizations are the best people to hear out from. Unfortunately, that's the people that we give least importance to. We almost treat, in many cases it's in fact outsourced. Forget about even you valuing their inputs. So in many cases it's outsourced. But the fact is that they are the first point of contact for you to know what the customer is saying or how frustrated they are. Now, what is the next step is that if you're underserving a market that you want to, which is core to you, then you need to figure out how to get better at it. In contrast, if you're overserving a market that is not your core business or which you would not like to focus on, you need to perhaps systematically underserve that. Otherwise, you are just adding more customer cost and more transaction, and that's not what you're looking for. So what they do is, so here's a survey, and the kind of way it is done is, you kind of ask them that, okay, tell us the top 3 reasons of why you are choosing a service or product or whatever, and then for each of these services, how have my expectations been met? So and my expectations were exceeded, or my expectations were not met at all. So for each of those purposes that you've taken the feedback for, you also take the feedback to say, is my need met or not met? Okay? And you kind of grade that feedback in between. Once you do that, then you're able to say that, okay, these are my target segments, this is my target market. Let's say this is my target market, not my target, and whether I meet my fitness level in a satisfactory, not satisfactory manner, or somewhere in between. Clearly, what is not my target, I can switch off, or I can kind of ignore them over a period of time. What is my target market? I need to make them move from this level to this level. That's the sum and substance of the game. That's the analysis that you're trying to do. Does that make sense? Any questions there? So, what we did is we asked our people to say, tell us why you would choose any team or organization to work with. List up to 3 reasons for objectives. And for each of those reasons, you were asked in a completely anonymous manner. You were asked whether your expectations are exceeded, or Digitate and my team is not my place for this objective. Okay, so we are getting into grassroots level feedback, collecting from each and every individual in a completely anonymous manner to understand whether their purpose or why they are with Digite is being met at Digite or not.
How frequent you do this?
Once a year. Okay, now as you can see here, all criteria put together, we were almost 70% in the my expectations are exceeded or fully met or largely met, but few concerns. But I still have 30% which is telling me that no, it's not getting met. Okay, and for criteria 1, criteria 2, criteria 3, the percentages are different. So here's what some examples. Somebody said company's vision or long-term goal that aligns with my long-term goal, and he said my significant needs are unaddressed. Somebody says opportunity to enhance my knowledge base, not my fault. Who's got the battery power for this? Can you just help me out, please?
I'll just.
Okay. So essentially people, because there were about 30-40 odd people, each had 3 different reasons, and they would essentially go ahead and tell you for each of them whether it's met, not met, or somewhere in between. Scope creep. Okay, so that's a true VUCA word, right? Uncertainty. Now, while they figure it out how to get this online. So what you do is, because it's completely anonymous, people are using different language. So then you need to commonalize it. Okay, and once you commonalize it, you will start to see patterns emerging. So what emerged for us is that people rated us very high on stuff like work environment, culture. People obviously rated us very low on compensation. People rated us low on skills and technology upgradation. So stuff like that. So it was very clear. People were saying, you guys have a good culture, work environment, but you guys suck in your pay. I tend to agree with my boss. I mean, about that with my boss, but that's a different matter. So now that you do that, now you kind of figure out in that template, if you figure out fitness versus market segment, right? Fitness versus market segment. So we said, okay, compensation and career growth is not my target segment. What am I trying to say? I'm saying that people who are really looking only for compensation or for career growth, that's not my key market segment. It's a little controversial statement why I say career growth there. The reason that is because we are building flatter organizations. Okay, I do not have, so this is how your aggregated survey would look like when you kind of consolidate feedback, and then you can very clearly see that work culture, environment and everything put together, high ratings, and compensation, career growth, kind of mediocre ratings. Okay, now, so those are the segments which are well served, those are the segments which are not greatly served. So what we did is we said, okay, these are the 2 things that is not my market segment. We are trying to build flatter organizations. I'm not going to have lead, manager, SPM, anything of that nature. Okay, everybody is at the same level as part of the team. You deliver an objective, it doesn't matter. There really isn't a hierarchy in the organization. We're extremely flat. So we very clearly said that's not our focus area. But we do need to communicate vision. We do need to appreciate people, and people were ranking us poorly on that. And so we created approaches that we would do to be able to fix those things. And when we did this next year, vision and team appreciation kind of disappeared. We became stronger in work culture environment, and HR policies got added here. Okay, so what is important to realize is that this feedback changes over time, right? As you become better and better, what is a pain point will also change from people. So you kind of keep on learning from that. Now, while we did all this, it was still not getting us the desired response. It was better. People were giving us better feedback, but still not the expected level of response. So it was like yeah, it's good to know, makes sense. I don't care. Okay, that was the kind of general sense that we were getting from a hardcore technical people. Okay, and I'm not talking about middle managers. I'm talking about hardcore technical people, 1 to 5, 1 to 6, 7-year experienced people. So I attended a gentleman, a keynote by this gentleman called Anil Sharma, and we thought that there was really something very revealing for us. He is actually a Buddhist practitioner, part of the Soka Gakkai organization, an HR professional with Symphony. And what he told us is that people always want to work for something where they can create a bigger outcome than what they could have done individually. Okay, so that is a key reason why HR practitioners believe that, hey, that's why people work in an organization. Now, going further beyond, he delved on this work by Professor Durr, who's from Baylor, which said that there are 5 key career orientations that every individual is looking at. Some people want to grow in a career. That could be either in terms of a technical track or on a delivery and a functional or a management track, but they want to grow. Okay? Some people are pretty happy with security. That's your typical large MNC, Government of India, and they're important. It's not that you need to belittle their value to the organization, but that's their personality mindset. They want to be in a secure environment, tension nahi lene ka, life is peaceful, 9 to 5, go home, work with my family, stay with my family. That's perfectly good for them. The third is the guys who want excitement, right? And this could again be technical, or it could be from management itself, sales guys, right? Or the technical geeks. So hackers, right? For them, excitement is their steroid. Every sales deal closure, and I was in sales for many years, I can still vouch for the fact that nothing gives you as much excitement as when you really close a new deal. Okay, it's an absolute moment of joy, no matter what. Freedom. So freedom is about people who want to be not disturbed. Tell me what needs to be done. I'll do it. Don't bug me and say timesheet bharo, ye approval karo, ye form bharo. Don't bug me with that. Okay, that's what their value system is. That's what their liking is. And balance. Balance is people who want generally sab kuch thoda thoda, but they have no orientation in one specific direction. Okay? Now, it's important to recognize that in an organization, you need all the people. It is not that every work will not be equally exciting, and a lot of work will be regular, mundane work. What you need to do is do the fit, to understand whom I should fit in the balanced world, balanced profile, non-exciting, steady job, who wants to take this, who wants to take this. If you can do that, what you've done is you've understood the alignment of what work you have to offer and what that individual is looking for. It's also important to know this perception will change over time, so you need to do it regularly. When people are single bachelors, they're willing to take a lot more risk. When people go in the family path with kids, they will want more security and stability. Okay, so it's cognizant to what their life status is at any given point of time. It's not something just you can take it once and be done with.
So you are talking more of a product kind of company, right? And if you see consultancy organizations, and if you stuck with the clients,
sure,
you're mostly driven by the client environment also.
Sure.
Right? And you stuck and you sell your people and your positions are important. You cannot sell for people here and there. Challenge is much higher in that situation. Right? Secondly, which I interpreted is how you are fit for people, your people, not your organization. So I misinterpreted your topic. I thought you were talking how you individually is fitting for your people, not your.
How the organization and how fit is it for the people who are working for the organization? Is there an alignment between what the organization is wanting to do and the people that you have in the organization? Coming back to your point about services, so my first 15 years was IT services. Wipro, HCL Tech, 15 years solid, 5 years, 10 years. I see absolutely no dichotomy. even in a services organization, yes, as we are looking at utilization and revenue-centric goals and objectives, but if you want stability and low attrition, you have to do some kind of an alignment like this. Otherwise, people are, especially in today's world, more and more is bound to happen that we were still from a generation where we could take some level of crap and accept it. Okay? Saying, okay, we will grow over it, we'll kind of align to it and we'll work with it. Today's generation, that's not the case. There are too many opportunities for the technical guys. If you don't offer the path that they are seeking, somebody else will. And if he's a good guy, you've got to figure out how you're going to keep him on board. So the onus is on us. My boss keeps getting upset about the fact that people give rubbish reasons when they leave the organization. Okay? My pitch to my boss is, that's not the guy's problem, that's the organization's problem. We have not been able to build that trust to a level where the guy can confide in you and tell you the real reason why he wants to leave you. He's just giving you a palatable reason that you think you want to hear, or he thinks you want to hear. So we really have to change our mindset and our approach as leaders to be able to understand we are working with a different generation of people. My daughter, classic example. She's so, I mean, yes, we also used to sometimes crib about our profs, but there's nothing wrong about that. But their reaction about the professors that they dislike is far more acute. And guess what? The system allows them that flexibility. If the professor is bad, they'll just drop the subject in between because they will take the course credit from another course from another prof next to them. That's how they go. They just walk out. Now, unfortunately, the organization cannot afford that because you are building IP for services or product. Every month, the guy is working for that customer's product, customer's application. There is knowledge of that application that's getting built into that guy. How can you afford to lose it? And every time you lose it, I can assure you, your end customer is not going to be happy. So anyway, so we can take it off. So what we started doing is, we started having these conversations. Obviously, I've hidden the names and stuff, but we kind of, so now what we do is, we kind of understand that what are the things that you have learned, are there specific things that you have learned? Because what we have seen is, if you learn something, you tend to be more aligned with the organization. Okay, so we see what have you learned, then what kind of careerist you are, and how much of the career aspiration is getting met in digital. Okay, so this guy, for example, married, stable, secure, I know won't leave us, some growth is good, I can give him a regular mundane job and he'll be happy, he or she will be happy, they'll be content. This guy clearly wants to grow technically, and he's saying that it's largely met in digital. This is a classic balanced guy. Isko excite karna is very difficult. It's extremely difficult to be able to excite him and get some josh in him. That's not what he's looking for. Okay? By he or she, okay? I'm just using he generally. Okay? And if you notice, we kind of adapted it a bit to say you can be wanting a career on technical track or on management track when it comes to advancement. It doesn't only need to be on the typical delivery track at all. Right? So clearly this is somebody who wants to grow and advance, and very clearly security or nothing else really matters for them. So if I want and I value this guy, if this guy is good, clearly I have to give him the opportunity to be able to move fast every few years. Otherwise he's going to walk out. Right? So what you're trying to do is to be able to understand how and what an individual wants, how you can map to that individual's need. This is called a contribution cycle, again from the same professor's work. What he essentially is highlighting is that when people start a job, their interest level is high, and they're learning your company's skills, right, or tool or whatever it is. This is their zone of highest productivity. Slowly that starts ebbing out until the guy feels, give me a break. Okay, now what it means for, if you want these younger generation people to go through the cycle and again, you have to figure out what can be the refresher course for him every 18 months, every 2 years. You can't just expect because I've invested him in one time, he's going to be with me and I'm going to extract that juice out of the guy for the next 5-6 years just doing that same thing. He's just going to walk out on you. So I've talked about this. Bottom line, I think just trying to highlight the fact that even with our people with whom, when we're doing this exercise, we have to spend a lot of time to help them understand what that exercise is about. What is the objective, what we're trying to do. So you have to spend some time to explain to them why. Career orientations change over time. Some people never build a dominant orientation. Okay? Nobody has one orientation. And people of all types are important to the organization. It's not, it's very easy for the guys who are advancing to get dominance or get the visibility in the organization. But they can't do their job if the regular and the stable guys are not on board. They can only do the job if the regular day-to-day mundane job is being taken care of by your anchor guys. And the anchor guys may be perfectly 9 to 5 jobs, and that's perfect 9 to 5 guys, and you should be absolutely content and value their contribution, not trivialize their contribution. The mistake we make as leaders is we say, this guy is a ghoda, this guy is a mule. I have done this, many other leaders have done it. Okay, I am done. So net outcome, we reduce our attrition by 50%. And interestingly, even here, one guy that we lost, he was an exit case. We were only pushing, wanting him to leave us. We also got some people who left us actually joining us back. So some of the people, we have now started the reverse phenomena, that they've gone out, experienced, and said, hey, you guys are a far meaningful and a better experience for us to work with. So what I want to leave as a parting thought is build a macro and a micro approach. At a macro level, understand what's the fit for purpose, what are your people wanting, and see how you're aligned to that. If you're not serving that market, build strategies to get aligned. At the macro level, work with on an individual on a one-on-one basis. Every individual is different, one size fits all. The same pitch, the same sales pitch will not excite everybody. You got to understand and accept that. Thanks, guys.
Sudipta, I have a question.
Sure.
How is this aligned to the situation leadership thought process?
So I am not too familiar with what situational leadership thought process is, so I won't be able to comment. I just understand that most leaders who have reached a position of leadership have reached there because they've been successful in certain ways and patterns. Okay? 9 out of 10 times, they just want to stick to those ways and patterns. That's perhaps the biggest reason why the Indian IT industry has been terrible in terms of lean agile adoption. I have all the large IT service customers or companies are our customers. I've seen such a passive and a docile experience from them in terms of trying to understand why is lean agile not a scrum or a kanban, but there's a far more deeper pattern undercurrent that is at play there, which they think it's just a passing fad. Not because they want to do this, but because they want to stick to what has given them past success. Okay? So I know I have not been able to answer your thing, but I'm just saying that most leaders stick to what has given them success, and what we teach in Lean Agile community or talk about in Lean Agile community is extremely contradictory to what that success has been for the last 30-40 years.
I have a question. So when we talk about different orientation, there are 5 categories of people. Now come back to Scrum or Agile. We need Scrum teams. We need people who are self-organized. We don't need a person who dominates and a person who sits back and just do his work within security. Now you talked about give them
The opportunity.
about the opportunity around their orientation. But then how I as a Scrum Master, as a coach, give the person who is very mundane, who is very...
So firstly recognize.
Yeah, recognize.
Firstly recognize that I have this kind of a person here and I have this kind of person here. And therefore my interaction with this guy has to be different from this guy. Number one. Number two, what I am starting to do is, for example, I now know based on these interactions, some people are really wanting customer facing opportunities. So what I'm saying, okay, you are part of the Scrum team, but I'll give you some of the work where you can do upstream work with customers and start to do face-to-face interactions with them.
No, I understand.
So, and then feed that as part of the sprint scope. So feed those kind of work items into the sprint scope to say, okay, I'm going to plan it out. It's going to be part of your capacity so that you get that opportunity to be able to build a career in the areas that you are also interested in.
My question is around the person who
Guys, we need to cut short.
Yeah.
We have
Okay,
time out.
so let's take it
Please,
offline.
yeah.
And
Sure.
So this is a gift for you. Thank you.
Thank
so
you.
much for coming.